Welcome to Lay Fun Guys. I'm Mark, filling in for Samir. We got Carozza.
What's up?
What's up? Got a great show for you today. Been a crazy week in Canadians history. Definitely one we'll remember. Started off with some Shea Weber action with that injury. And we're going to go through the show today. Danault, the latest update with him. We're going to be talking about the Seattle expansion happening tomorrow, which players are going to be taken, which may not. Jonathan Drouin. But let's start. Carey Price left unexposed in the expansion draft. Carozza, will he be with the Canadiens tomorrow night? Is this his last night?
Leaving him exposed is a big risk. I'm hoping it's a calculated risk that he isn't taken, but there's a chance. If the owners of Seattle say go ahead, we have the money to pay his contract. Yes, it could be his last day. Back in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals that we saw Carey Price in a Habs jersey. Could be.
I think he should be taken. We saw what he did in the finals. He has his history of excellence, gold medals. His family's from there. His wife, himself, Vancouver, tri-state. He played there, and that's why he even asked Bergevin to waive it because he knows if he gets taken, he wouldn't mind being there. But will they? I think the injury risk is going to be a big concern. Uh, Ron Francis, he said cap space is the most valuable commodity. Carey Price is making 10.5 million as a cap. I don't think the signing bonus is a problem. Seattle just played 650 million, but cap space, that's a lot of cap space for 5 years. And the injuries I mentioned, his knees, his hips, his back, he's going to miss the first 2 months potentially of the season. And Stefan Wade even mentioned it as a risk. So do I think Ron Francis makes the moves? No. Should he? Yeah, because it's Carey Price.
Yeah, making that move could get them in the playoffs right away from year one. Having Carey Price, even if he only plays after Christmas, for example, he could still win them a lot of hockey games going into the end. And it's a calculated risk that even Ron Francis might want to take. They're going to sell a lot of jerseys.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll make that money back. They need to get to the cap floor too, so 10.5 might be where he wants to spend his money.
Tim Lewicki, former used to be with the Leafs organization, big
Yeah.
CEO there. He's a big marketing guy. He would love it. That's going to bring a lot of hype to the city. Good way to go up against the Seahawks with a name that's recognizable. That's a brand. Carey Price is a brand, and he's still got game as we saw. So we will see tomorrow what happens,
hmm
and it'll be certainly exciting. We'll see if Bergevin's bluff played off. I'm sure they're talking on the phone right now, asking for additional assets to keep
He's gonna
Price in
need
the
to wear,
organization.
yeah, Bergevin might need to wear that red suit tomorrow just to give him some luck.
You have to sleep in it too. But let's also look at the latest rumor in that Philip Deneau is not expected back with the Habs. What are your thoughts on that?
It's gonna be a loss. We're used to having him there. He takes a lot of defensive zone faceoffs. He has all the assignments against the other team's top lines. It'd be a big loss. However, paying him $5-6 million for a guy that will likely not score 10 goals anymore in his career will be will not, I'm not going to miss that for $5-6 million. I'd rather spend that money elsewhere. We're going to have a lot of cap space without Weber, without Danault, without Tatar leaving as well. I think we can spend that money better elsewhere. Find a defensive center if we need to, but maybe give some of our other young centers more time.
I think you nailed it there, Matt. It really comes down to Suzuki's the number one center right now.
Yeah.
KK, Evans, even Paling, you got to give them a chance. You got to give them the ice time. You got to see what they're made of. If they can perform, give them that opportunity to fill part of his role in a form of a timeshare. So I think now's the time, especially with Weber, probably not going to be there this season. It's your chance to play around a bit and give those guys that experience. Because if not, they never will. It's a key year for KK, so you need to give him the ice time and the opportunity.
Yeah.
But in terms of where he goes, what do you think about Colorado? Samir actually brought this point. You have McKinnon, number one center, offensive, Danault, defensive. That's, to me, sounds like Stanley Cup material, top six.
Definitely. I wonder where Kadri is still
Yeah,
there. Does Kadri drop to the third line? If
and you're
not,
and you're
y-
set.
you're definitely set. One, two, three. With those wingers that they have there in Colorado, it might be what they need to take the next step in the playoffs. Have a shutdown center, so McKinnon can have free reign and double shift McKinnon when you need goals. Play Danault, everything defensive. Let McKinnon just go at it.
That's it.
It would work there if they have the cap space. I don't think they have a lot, but if they can get him in the cap, why not sign him there for five
And it
six
doesn't
million? What do you want?
doesn't look like Seattle will sign him based off the reports we're hearing so far. But let's move right along to Shea Weber. You mentioned he may miss the season. What are your thoughts on that? Was big news when we heard about that. What are your thoughts?
When we heard that news, I was hoping, like a lot of people did, that it would be a Kucherov, that we
Yeah,
could
for
play
sure.
the season, replace him, and have him come back for the playoffs. Everybody thought that was a wonderful idea, but now if it's career threatening, then he'll still go on LTIR, long-term injury reserve, for the rest of his contract. He could be a retirement, but he'll be on LTIR and save us that cap space. When we watched Game Five, and they were about to shake hands with Tampa Bay. A
Mm,
lot of the Canadians players, if you go online and look for that video, went to salute him, and it seemed like it was a goodbye, and it might have been a goodbye,
yeah.
and so that would be an interesting turn of events
I mean, a
for
goodbye to
him.
that cap space, I think, is good. He is an aging defenseman, but
Yeah,
we saw what he contributed in the playoffs, and we were hard on him. We've been hard on him in the regular season, generally. That he seemed to step slower, but he kicked it up a notch in the playoffs, and that's really a big loss. And now we really feel that pain as you're looking at potential replacements to fill that hole. Rasmus Ristolainen, the latest rumor, personally doesn't get me that excited. He's a big defenseman also, but I mean, him and Weber is not on the same page. What do you think about that? I mean, it's Buffalo. Are we sort of buying low on him?
yes, I think we're buying low because Ristolainen has 1 year left on his contract. If we could get him for a reasonable return, or
Yeah.
pay for him, let's say a second round pick right now, for 1 year left on his contract. For him, he'll play his heart out to get good money in his next contract. And he's right
We
hand
certainly
shot.
hope so, right?
He's
Like,
gotten 40, 50 points in his career. Could be a good replacement for Weber.
you sort of hope it's like an Eric Stahl situation. You bring them back into a good environment and
Yeah,
get a relatively good playoff, even though the regular season was kind of rough for him. But certainly, if the price is right and you're not giving up prime prospects, I think maybe a second and a depth piece could be interesting. But if not, you got David Savard, free agent with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He could be a good feast. Meets the Quebecois check mark that we're gonna may not even have any for this season. So
yeah,
um, very good bottom six role. So defense. So you could see him being a potential fit also.
yeah, yeah.
But,
Those
but
are
in terms
just
of
those are just the two guys that we're
you
really
guys, yeah.
hearing about. Bergevin might be looking everywhere for
Oh,
some
for
B.
sure. Yeah.
If he has the money, if he's got 7.8 million to spend on a player, it could be anybody.
Yeah, maybe you can make a deal with side deal with Seattle, just like what Emelin got picked in the expansion draft. He ended up getting flipped to Nashville.
Yeah,
Or there's other guys on free agency, power play guys, a bit older, like Goligoski could be a nice little fit. But we'll talk about that in our next podcast a little more because
for
there's
sure.
still one guy who we didn't mention that's a problem with the Canadians. We didn't even see him in the playoffs, Jonathan Drouin. What do you think happens with him?
If he's doing better, like Bergevin says, and he can start next year, and we want to give him a chance, sure, give him a chance of another year. Not having Tatar back, he could be that left winger that plays most games, maybe gets second line power play minutes, plays third line, maybe sometime with Suzuki, sometime with Evans or KK. Um, I think I
I
would give him a chance.
I completely disagree. I think he doesn't want to be back. He's writings on the wall. He could use a fresh start. And one rumor I saw today, really, I loved it. Raquel for Drouin, Rickard Raquel with the Anaheim Ducks, left winger, 1 year left on his contract, 30-goal scorer. Um, the reason why Anaheim would potentially do it is because they were originally interested in Drouin when he got traded from Tampa. They obviously lost to the Habs because Sergachev was the winning offer, but I could see a deal happening there. And Montreal perspective, I mean, Raquel only has 1 year left, so maybe that's why Anaheim would be willing to do that deal.
Mm.
So look out for that. That's my favorite rumor so far. That's not Tarasenko, but we'll talk about Tarasenko in the expansion draft. And
To finish on Drouin, to
yeah,
finish on him, if we're talking about business decision, I think you could still buy him out. I understand there's still some time to buy him out.
well, yeah.
Um,
There's
that
a
that
lot we
might be
don't
an option
know. Can
too.
he be put on LTIR? Is a buyout there? Like, we don't know the full situation. Only Mark Bergevin knows. So, um, my trade with Raquel, you're only assuming that he is, going to be ready to go for the season, and
Exactly.
we certainly hope for that. Much success, no matter where he is.
Yeah.
Expansion
True.
draft tomorrow.
Hmm.
There were some big names exposed, not just Carey Price and the rest of the Canadians organization, but I mentioned Tarasenko with St. Louis. Do you think Seattle takes the bait?
No, no. He's got a big contract, and there's a good defenseman that Seattle can take out of St.
Vince Dunn,
Louis
yeah.
and Vince Dunn, exactly. So no, they won't take the bait. St. Louis does want to get rid of him. If that's why they exposed him, is it due to his injuries and knowing that Seattle most likely won't? It's almost the same type of situation as Carey Price, where someone that's high has a high contract and has some injuries you expose, and knowing that they likely won't take him. But you've got a way better choice in Vince Dunn that Seattle will most likely take.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you think of Vince Dunn. Can he become that top four defenseman? But I mean, Tarasenko, that's a name we know. That's almost like a Carey Price name. He's a
Yeah,
40-goal scorer, two-time 40-goal scorer.
yeah,
But the shoulder injury, third shoulder injury, that's serious. You're a hockey player, you're shooting the puck.
yeah.
In any sport, the shoulders is serious. But is it fixed? The surgeon says yes. We finally got it. But do you trust it? Are you willing to take the chance? Only 2 years left on the contract. I think there's other guys you can get. It's really about opportunity. St. Louis would love for them to take him so that they could go after Landeskog. So we'll see. I don't think he does. I think you got to go with the defenseman, but because you're getting Price in my hypothetical situation, and I will publish my mock draft in this chat. But
Okay,
other big names, Carozza, Mark Giordano, the Calgary Flames,
yeah. He has been rumored to be going to Seattle to become their first
Capitano.
captain of the franchise. I think that's a good selection. He is on the downhill of his career, but he still has good hockey in him for at least a couple of years. That type of contract is what Vegas used to have success in their first couple of years. Guys who still have good hockey in them, but only have a couple of years on their contracts. And he's been doing good things for Calgary, although they haven't made any deep runs recently. He's a leader, and he can still get some points. So I think it's a good
You,
choice for Seattle.
you nailed it there. Max Domi, do you take him?
Max Domi, no, no, not with a 10-foot pole. I think his
Same here. It's
hot
a
head.
shoulder injury. Number one, it's his third, maybe it would be his third team in like 3 years. He wore it as welcome in Montreal. Obviously, Columbus is exposing him. I think they're trying to hide here, take him, top six forward, but there's other guys there. There's like young defensemen. He's still 5 million against the cap, so I think it's a smokescreen, really. And there's a lot of them in this draft. When you look at Nashville, what do you think about Duchesne being exposed?
Duchesne and even oh, I forget his name.
Yeah, it's okay. Johansson.
Johansson.
Yeah.
Those two guys have
With
big
that, with those
contracts.
contracts they're making, we should remember their
No,
names,
no,
but
I
that's
don't,
not a good
because
sign.
they've been having bad years. Nashville didn't have a good year either. Those two guys will most likely not get selected by Seattle. They'll probably take someone like Yarncroc to bolster their team instead of those huge contracts, guys that are not on the right path right now. So stay away from those two guys.
Stay away. I'm really excited to see who they take from Philadelphia. Dave Haskell, the new coach, used to coach the Flyers. So there's rumors of Gostisbehere, there's rumors of JVR. I think they'll go after Voracek. He's going to be one of the highest paid players. I think he's still got game. Yes, he's a bit on the decline. He has 3 years left. He's the type of goal scorer you need that's available. So I think it's worth the chance. And if you compare it to someone like Tarasenko, he doesn't make 1 million more, so he's still overpaid, but you're getting that production, and there's less of that injury risks there. So I would go with that. And then Tampa, so much to choose from. Who do you like there?
I think Yanni Gord is a good choice. He's got a big contract, but it could pay off. He's quick, solid center. It would be a hit for Tampa Bay to lose him, on top of likely needing to get rid of someone else like Tyler Johnson or the injured player there, the big guy.
Lauren.
Exactly, Killorn could also go this summer. But Yanni Gourde, I think, is the choice from Tampa, and unless there's a defenseman, maybe Eric Cernak, that they could also take. He could be a D man
There's Cal
that
Foot.
Seattle looks at. Exactly, Calfoot. Yeah, no, he's a first round pick. So there's a couple good options, but Yanni Gourde will likely be who they take unless they want a defenseman.
Yeah, and that's why it would really be interesting with when you look at Montreal. You also got Brett Kulak and Hayden Fleury. You could easily see Ron
Kale
Francis go. Cap
Kale
space is the
Fleury.
most valuable commodity. Kale Fleury, that's right. The cap space is the most valuable commodity. So let's pick Kulak up, offensive defenseman. He's playing the playoffs. He held his own. Sure, he didn't play a lot against Vegas, but we could use him. And if he doesn't fit, trade him or let Flurry grow under the system. So we saw what Vegas did. They drafted a lot of defensemen, traded some, kept some.
Yeah.
They will get Shea Theodore. So you could see Seattle drafting a bunch of defensemen like Dunn, Jake Bean in Carolina is available. Even Boston has some Zboro and Lausanne. A lot of good young defensemen. So it really, a lot of ways Ron Francis could go, and especially if he takes Carey Price, he's going to have to go cheaper on those other contracts. And finding young, cost-controlled defensemen is a good way to go. But we didn't cover goalies. What do you think about the goalie market? Whether they take Price or not.
They don't, whether they take Price or not. We've heard rumors. It's almost confirmed that Dreger from Florida is going to Seattle on a $3.25 million contract
Yeah,
for a few years. That's a good move. If they don't take Carey Price, um, pick him up, pick up another couple younger goalies, and split the load, if you will, or give Dreger 60 games if you want, to really try him out. But there's a few good options that they have in net, even if you exclude Carey Price. So they could save their money and spend it on forwards. They could spend on good forwards and good D, and not need to spend 10.5 million on Carey Price. But which other goalies did you
Yeah,
have
in
in mind?
terms of intriguing names, what really stands out is Minnesota, how like protecting Cam Talbot over Kalkinen.
Mhm.
Kalkinen's first year, but he showed a lot of promise. It's only towards the end of the season Talbot really stood up on his own. But
Took over,
uh,
yeah.
that's someone that you'd have to really consider taking, as well as Vanacek, who's been in the Washington system for multiple years. Got his opportunity when Samsonov was on the COVID list and held his own. Really became that 1B goaltender. So you can easily go with Driedger, Kakin, and Vanacek, then potentially trade one of those two young guys, or even just get them and trade them anyways with Price and Dreger as your 1-2. I mean, you're pretty set. Ron Francis has a lot of options there, so it'll be really interesting to see who ends up gets taken.
If he takes Carey Price and has Driedger at 3.25, I think we're almost in the same situation as Montreal with Allen making 3-4 million also here in Montreal. I don't know if no, he's not going to spend 14, 15 million dollars on goalies with an expansion team. So if that Dreger thing is true, he's not taking Carey Price. That's a good point. He is not going to spend almost 15 million dollars, 14 million dollars on goalies in it
Well,
with an expansion team.
Bergevin did it last year, and we know Carey Price. Even Stephen Waite said it. Carey needs a good backup because he's not the rubber man like Fleury even is. So
Yeah.
be really interesting to see. But if Price gets taken, I'm really looking forward to seeing an Allen Halak combo next season.
Wow.
And we will see next week for our next podcast what ends up happening. Going to be really fun tomorrow at 8 p.m. We're going to do live show. Already we saw with the fish. What's his name? Kerfoot of the Leafs
Kerfoot,
probably will
yeah.
get taken. So will be really fun to see. But thanks, Carozza, for filling in for today, and thanks for listening. Don't forget to like us.